Well, hey friend, and welcome back to the Pilates Business Podcast. I'm Seran Glanfield, and I'm so glad you're here. If we've never met before, I probably should introduce myself because you're listening to this and I'm here every single week. And I want to tell you a little bit about why I do what I do. I haven't done this for a while. I've got a lot of new folks joining us and I want to make sure you know what I'm all about. So I help studio owners, boutique fitness studio owners, to build profitable and sustainable businesses. And I want you to do that without burning yourself out, without driving yourself into the ground in the process. And honestly, the work that I do is deeply personal to me because I know how it feels to love teaching, but perhaps secretly feel sort of in the dark or overwhelmed by the business side of owning a studio. I know how it feels to feel to your clients, your community, and the experience that you're creating, while also perhaps laying awake at night thinking to yourself, oh my gosh, I feel so behind. How do I still feel so behind? And I've seen so many incredible Pilates teachers and barre instructors and yoga studio owners pour their hearts into their businesses, teaching nonstop, answering emails late at night, trying to figure out the marketing in between classes, handling paying your team, counting the hours they've taught, managing instructors, filling in and subbing for them, fixing problems, putting out fires, and somewhere along the way, the business that they dreamed of that would give them flexibility and freedom starts to feel really heavy instead. And truly, this is why I started this podcast, because I genuinely believe that studio owners deserve better support, not generic business advice from someone who's never stepped foot inside of a boutique fitness studio, not that go, 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 hustle, hustle, work harder, harder, harder culture, and also not just post 5 reels a day and hope for the best. I think that you deserve real conversations about what is actually happening in this industry right now, not last year, and what actually creates sustainable growth in this industry. The kind of growth that gives you more profit, more clarity, more leadership, more confidence, and honestly, a life outside of the studio as well. And, I think, I'll tell you a little bit of something a little bit more personal, but, one of the moments that changed the way that I thought about business was realizing that success isn't just about making more revenue. Building a business that actually supports you in all the ways that makes you feel good and fulfilled. So yes, a great income, but also helps to make sure that your energy is how you want it to be every single day. That you're reaching for your goals, that you're able to spend time with family, that you're able to do things that excite you outside of the studio as well. And that sets you up not just for a great week, but a great year and a great 5 years. Because truly, honestly, what is the point of building a successful studio business if you're exhausted all the time? So that's why I don't just talk about one thing here. Yes, we talk about marketing. Yes, we talk about leadership. Yes, we talk about retention and pricing and profitability and systems. We also talk about team dynamics. We talk a lot about burnout and planning and decision-making and how to scale in a very sustainable way. And I think most importantly, though, one of the things that I have seen make the biggest difference is the mindset shifts that stop you from operating in survival mode and start leading like the CEO your business needs you to be. Because most studio owners don't just need to do more. They actually need better systems, more clarity, better strategy, better leadership, and truly actually a solid business model that protects you as the leader of your business instead of draining you. So if you're listening to this while you're driving to the studio, or whether you're folding laundry after a long day of teaching or hiding in your office, slamming a coffee before the next client comes in, honestly, you're in the right place. And I'm so glad you're here today because I want to talk about one of the most frustrating experiences that I have witnessed for passionate, ambitious studio owners. Having worked with studio owners for over 10 years, I know that the people that I get to work with care deeply about the classes that they offer in their studios, what they do. And because you care about that, I know you've invested in your training, in your teaching skills, in your education. So I know that your classes are top quality. You've probably put years and a lot of dollars into your education. You probably care about your clients and whether they're feeling good. And you've probably been thoughtful about creating a space that is supportive, intentional, and has a particular atmosphere and energy. And yet you might be finding that new clients aren't booking the way that you'd expect or want to. Maybe you're finding that intros come and they go, they trickle in, there's not like a consistent flow. And perhaps you feel like when it comes to your marketing, it's just having zero impact. Feels like you're shouting into this black hole. And honestly, when you're in that place, it's where I often see this sort of self-doubt kind of sneak in. So you start to question your pricing, you start to question if you're priced wrong, if you're competitive enough, if you're doing enough things on social media, or if you've got the right aesthetic, if you've got the right logo. And probably even a lot of that leads to you questioning whether you were even cut out to be a business owner, or if this is what it is going to be like forever. And I want you to share with you something today, something that, I think a lot of people don't want to hear and a lot of people don't want to share, which is this. And that is that great classes, the best classes, do not automatically create a booked out studio. And I know this because there are lots of studios out there that are booked out that have terrible classes, right? And so by virtue of that fact, we also can see that perhaps the best classes do not automatically create a booked out studio. Not because they don't matter, not because quality doesn't matter, but because quality on its own is not what drives conversion, doesn't drive visibility. And so there's a gap that exists, okay? So let's talk a little bit about what that looks like. And I think that we often fall into this trap early on, perhaps following our teacher training, and we've invested a lot in that, which is important. And frankly, it's necessary and required in the industry that we're in today. However, as you come out of that world of sort of with the heavy focus on education of your teaching skills, a lot of studio owners assume that if they are a good enough teacher, then they will get clients. And so oftentimes the focus stays on teaching better. Okay. And it is important. I'm not diminishing that at all. It is important to stay focused on teaching better. We do see that there continues to be perhaps all the focus on teaching better. And the difference becomes when you shift from being a teacher to being a business owner, there is a different set of skills that is needed. And it's not to take away from your teaching skills, but it's an add to it. So all of the things that you're focused on right now, yes, teaching, yes, adding value, yes, creating a great experience and great results for your clients are all important. But as a business owner, that is an incomplete set of skills. And the impact is that your marketing will not be consistent. It will not be effective. And you'll find that growth relies on this sort of fits and starts of word of mouth here and there. And we often find that new client flow into your business is very unpredictable. And I know this because I hear it all the time. When people come in and they try it and you show them what you do, they love it and they stay, right? The problem is that clients don't find you, right? The new clients aren't booking. They don't know yet that your classes are amazing. And so when it comes to that first step, there's almost a wall there between what is happening in your business and what other people are seeing, right? And so what we want to make sure we're doing is we want to make sure we're thinking about how we can kind of take down that wall. Because what we know about new clients is that new clients will book when things become very clear to them, when the next step, the decision, is very clear and very obvious. And so if we are hiding behind the walls of the studio and building those walls, or perhaps not even taking them down, then what we will find is that clients will not find you. They will not see you. They will not see what it is that is possible when they become your client. And I think this is really common. And so a lot of what we focus on doing inside of Thrive is helping you to take down those walls and showcase all of the amazing things that happen inside of your studio. Because what I know more than anything else is that quality is number one, but without a clear customer journey and a clear path into your studio, we won't see the impact of your teaching skills really come to sort of that potential that we know it can have. Now, I think there's a couple of other things we want to consider when we have this issue, right? And I think this next one is something that is really, really common as well. And it's common for any business owner. When you're in a business, when you live inside of your studio every day, truly, it's hard to see it from the outside. So when I say to studio owners, okay, tell me about what you do, and then tell me a little bit about how you market yourself using some of that language, right? Oh my goodness, it is so hard for so many people to share that, to be able to talk about what they do. And it's because we've never been taught how. Right? Because I know that you understand the method. I know that you understand the nuances of what you do, of how you place people in different movement patterns and why you do all of that, right? But your potential client doesn't know that. They're overwhelmed with options. They're scrolling by too quickly, and they're feeling a specific problem or sensing a specific problem that they have in their body or their life that they're trying to solve. And so if you're not speaking directly to them, if your messaging is vague, if it sounds like every other studio on the street, if your marketing feels nice, but it's not compelling, then new clients don't see themselves in it. And so when we think about why people book with you, we want to think about showing them why it is that they should be booking with you, which means that they need to see why it's relevant to them. And when you're in your business and you've been in your business for a long time, it can be really hard to be able to share that because you're almost too close to the magic, right? And so the clearer you can be on what it is that you do with your clients, the easier that I want to sign up, I'm booking now becomes. And that's what we want more of. Inside of Thrive, we actually run the marketing intensive 3 or 4 times a year. And this is sort of a standalone course within Thrive, open to all Thrive members, as long as they are a Thrive member. And we revisit messaging every quarter because we know how powerful this piece of the puzzle really is, but also how challenging it can be to work on this on your own when you're inside of your business already. Now, I think the next thing that I often see when we have this sort of issue of having a great quality class but low number of new clients coming in is that there is still probably a level of confusion for your potential clients. And I think that we often unintentionally overwhelm new clients. Perhaps we have too many class types, too many ways to start, too many price points. And that last one is very common. And I know that you do it because you want to be generous, because you want to be thoughtful, because you want to offer as much flexibility as possible. But the impact of this actually can be quite negative. And it's subtle, but it's very, very costly because what often this level of options for your clients that you're trying to give them, right, with you're giving it to them all really generously, is that you're actually leading them into a place of decision paralysis, right? Abandoned bookings where they start and they look at the schedule and they don't know which class to book. And so then they just think about it. It's too hard, too many things, too many decisions to make. And that whole sort of like, I'll come back later situation happens, right? The reality is what we know from studying consumer behavior for years and decades is a confused client does not buy. And confusion doesn't always look like confusion, right? It can also look like overwhelm. And so when it comes to thinking about what you're presenting to your clients, the simple option is often better. And no, this is not about dumbing it down. You're not dumbing things down at all for anybody, right? This is about actually being smart with the way that you're presenting what you offer. The studios that convert don't just give more choice. They offer very clear pathways. And I'd encourage you to start to think about your studio through that lens. Everything from your website to your scheduling, all of that. Because once you make this shift, truly it makes everything so much more seamless from a client perspective. And you will see the shift when it comes to your conversion data, which is only a positive thing. Now, I want to just touch on one last thing before I wrap up. And that is that when we're in a position where we know what we do is good because we've invested in our skills and we know we get results for our clients because we know that we have invested in our teaching skills, we often marketing by trying to prove something about ourselves, right? We often do that by comparing to others. Sometimes there's some negative energy around that, which, your choice. I would always hesitate to post anything of that nature. But oftentimes it's about proving something. Credentials, how many years of teaching you've had, who you've studied with, testimonials, right? And all of these help. All of these help to add credibility to some degree, but only when there is context added. So your client testimonial is helpful but it isn't going to seal the deal if you're not guiding people forward, right? So we're not trying to convince people here. This is not what marketing is, actually. And as much as we often, I think, we make those associations, that's not how I teach marketing inside of Thrive at all, because no one has time to just convince people all the time, right? Marketing is not about proving that you are right. Marketing is about guiding people forward and opening up the possibilities for them and showing them what is possible. So the credentials alone, the testimonials alone, the beautiful images alone are all helpful, but they're not enough, because we don't want to have that energy in our marketing. Great marketing isn't about convincing. It's about guiding people forward. It's about helping the right person say, oh my goodness, you are exactly what I have been looking for years. Yes, this is for me. And I think that there is sort of an open loop that a lot of folks miss. When your messaging is aligned with your business model, what we find is that bookings stop feeling like you're pushing, that you're convincing people, and things start to feel a lot more natural. And what I've observed about folks who tend to shy away from marketing or are concerned perhaps about marketing and who perhaps are subconsciously avoiding it, it's often because there is a misalignment between your messaging, what you're saying, and the way that you want to work with your clients and how you're structuring your business as a whole. And when there is a misalignment there, you're going to find that there is friction. There is an internal friction within yourself and within your business that is holding you back from your next phase of growth, from being able to step into your light with your marketing that feels fantastic, that is supporting your business, that is growing your business. And so if you want your marketing and your sales process conversions to stop feeling like it's a push all the time and you're sort of holding up everything, then it's probably to do with a misalignment with your messaging and within your business model. So just a few things to think about there. I want to recap really quickly. I know that if you've invested in your teacher training, if you've invested in your education and continued education, that your classes are rock solid. But if new clients aren't booking, I want you to know it's not because of your teaching. It's not because of your passion. And it's not because people don't want what you offer. And it's not because the studio down the street is simply priced cheaper. Okay. It's because there is a missing piece in the clarity over what's the next step for new clients. It's because there is a positioning issue, and it's often because that path hasn't been intentionally designed yet. And honestly, this is the work that we do inside of Thrive, because this is foundational. It's fundamental to having a strong boutique fitness studio business. Thrive is my business coaching program for studio owners who want consistent new clients coming in the door, strong conversions, and a studio that grows without relying on luck or just pushing harder and working more. So if you want to take your amazing classes and turn them into booked out classes, then I'd invite you to learn more at spring3.com/thrive. Because honestly, the reason why I do what I do is because I believe that great teaching and great teachers deserve great businesses. So I hope this was helpful to you as you build your boutique fitness studio business. If you loved what you heard today, I'd be so appreciative if you could go to wherever you're listening to this, take a quick minute and rate and review this podcast. It would mean a ton to me and help to get this podcast out into our amazing community of teachers and studio owners so that they, just like you, can feel encouraged and supported on their journey in our industry. Thanks so much for listening.